I like that. Where do you want to sit? He says back there. You can just sit here.
They just closed it up, not even lights on at night, and I said, that's not.
Jason.
Okay.
Still says waiting?
Yeah.
Says we're live on my side.
Well, I told the girl that's ahead of it, that she said that she finally put in writing, and I said, it's a leak over, and the gap excuse, and I said, have you looked at it? Well, no, but then we told her the problem is, and I said, I have trouble with it.
Huh?
So she finally gave them to talk to their person, and it was in the morning, it was on my calendar. I'm not just making it as a fact, and I told who was in the person.
There we are. Okay. All right. All right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Lily. I'm the coordinator for Norton Vista Neighborhood Association, and tonight we're doing something new. We're trying to become YouTube stars, so we're streaming this live on YouTube. So tonight we have a pretty jam-packed meeting. There's been a lot of stuff going on in the neighborhood that we need to talk about that obviously everybody here is aware of. Our first speaker tonight, Michelle, you ready to go? Michelle is going to talk to us. She's in a neighboring neighborhood association, and she's going to talk to us about a tree canopy grant that is coming up in our area, in some of our areas.
Yay, Michelle! Woo!
Thank you. So I'm nobody. I'm one of you guys. I'm just a neighbor, and I think, did you tell me about the tree grant?
I did.
Okay, I literally was like, where did you hear about this? And I was like, I don't know, probably Julia. But basically, so the City of Phoenix Office of Heat Response and Mitigation, so that department has a grant through the American Rescue Plan, Act for Residential Tree Equity. Anyways, it's a big program. What it's called is the Community Canopy Grant. I've submitted the application for our area. So sorry, it's not huge. I don't have it on the projector, but it's from Cave Creek East until 16th Street, and then north of Dunlap and south of Peoria. So if you live within this shaded area, or someone you know lives within this shaded area, I have good news. You can get free, and they're really nice trees because they're 15 or 25 gallon. Each residence can get 1 or 2 trees. And multiple unit properties are allowed to get up to 10 trees. So our total for this space is 200 trees. That's the max that we can get, which would be amazing if we had 200 more mature trees in our neighborhood, just for increasing shade, lowering your costs for cooling your home, more space for the wildlife. It kind of sounds too good to be true, but it gets better because they also give you a bag of supplies to help keep the trees alive. I'm just like, I don't know. I'm
And
really
they plant
impressed.
some for
And
you.
they plant them. Oh, I'm gonna get to this. I'm gonna get to it. So they give you supplies. So they'll give you a moisture meter, which is like a little tool you can stick in the soil to check further down. You can see if the top is wet or dry, but it will tell you further down if it's moist or if it's dry. So they'll give you one of those. They give you a hose. A nice hose. Oh, okay. A hose, and then an irrigation timer, and then educational materials and like the calendar for how often to water it, as well as 2 t-shirts that are just like from the event, but they'll say something about the event. All of those supplies will be distributed at either a neighborhood event that we'll have like mid-November. We don't have a date yet, but it'll be kind of just a small event. They will bring pop-up tents, donuts, coffee, and all the supply bags. So everyone who's gotten a tree will just like swing by the park, pick up their bag, pick up a snack, and so it'll be just like a simple event. Renters are able to receive trees as long as they get approval from the property owner themselves. So if anyone's renting and you still want some shade on the space that you're living in, you're allowed to. There is one important point that Kayla wanted me to get across, is that you have to plant in your property line. which is not always easy to know where it is, but there's an easement. So if you have like a sidewalk, there's a portion, or even just from the road, there's a portion, I think it's like 6 to 8 feet back. If somebody knows, you can correct me. But 8 feet? Yeah, so you can't plant inside of that because that is technically city property, and you would have to like take liability for if the tree fell down and hurt someone or broke or something. And so her recommendation is just to not plant in that area. But other than that, you can plant, you know, primarily front yards are recommended for ease of planting, getting in and out and stuff. Professional arborists are the ones who will come and plant the trees. So you don't have to dig the hole, you don't have to muscle this massive tree into the ground. They'll come and plant it. It'll be over, you know, if we get several trees, it'll be over a few days, maybe the course of a week. She said they can usually plant about 20 per day. So you'll see them around the neighborhood getting trees planted. And beforehand, the contractors, they will call Arizona 811 to have them come and mark your utilities so they're not hitting your water line or your gas or whatever. And then she did also offer that if you have an existing dead tree and you want a new tree in that same spot, they can take that dead tree out.
That's huge.
Yeah, which is really nice, yeah. So they said it didn't need to be dead. They can't, it needs to like actually be dead, not just a tree you don't like. But if it is dead, they're willing to remove those and then plant the new tree in that spot. And then the other good news is that, so this funding has been going on for about a year, and they've been doing monthly grants, with the exception of the summer, because they don't want them out planting in the heat. So this was actually the last round of funding for this year. So the application's already submitted, so we're on track. Hopefully it will get approved mid-October, and then like I said, the planting would happen in November. But they have new funding that will go on for about the next 5 years. So if we want to reapply next year or in 2 years, and more people want trees because they didn't hear about it the first time around, or if you only got one tree the first time and you want a second tree, you know, you'll have that option. So
Good news.
it's great
Good job
news.
taking that on, that's a lot of work.
It really is.
And I will just add that, I know Ken is looking at me like, what about me and what's Sunny Slope?
Yes.
We have a meeting scheduled on Monday with all the different Sunny Slope neighborhood leader folks. I invited you, but you're well on your way. To talk about the tree grant. Kayla will be speaking to us about the grant, how to apply. West Sunny Slope is all in. We're gonna work together on that application.
Yeah.
So, and then just so you know, there are two separate grant funding. One is ARPA, which is a little more strict. And the other one is another source. Both have to be low mod census tracts. So neighborhoods do have to qualify. A part of Norton Vista and Ocotillo Hills qualified. West Sunny Slope qualifies, but no, what doesn't qualify is East Sunny Slope because it's not in the low mod census tract. So before we get super excited, I always like to check to make sure people qualify before we go through with that. So more info to come, but they have great trees. Like I hear they're the best trees.
They're great trees. I brought a few copies of the list back there. There's about 20 trees to choose from, about half native, half non-native, but all trees selected to thrive well in the desert. It's not like, you know, some tree from Hawaii that they're like offering you. No, it's like lots of mesquites, Palo Verdes, Mediterranean trees. If you Google the Community Canopy Grant and you look at the list online, when you click on the type of tree, it will show you a picture of it. It'll bring up a page, show you a picture, give you a little more information. So, but yeah, for a few people, if you want to get an idea. I did forget to mention, so after it gets approved, that's when you'll hopefully hear some more. We'll have a flyer that we'll receive from Kayla, who's the coordinator, and we'll distribute that so that more people can hear about it. And then pretty much everybody will send their requests to me. I'll compile them and work with Kayla to get that moving forward. So, any questions right now? Anything that?
So our next step would be to wait for the news that it's been approved, and then we'll look for a flyer and a contact number.
Yes.
And that would be in October, you said?
Yeah, it should be like mid-October.
The biggest thing, Dana Gardner,
Myself too.
and I have 8 trees that came with the house from the 40s that are massive. But you gotta understand that when we plant new ones, it still takes a year for their roots to take hold, and you gotta deep water. Even with our extreme heats, I go out and deep water the smaller trees once a week, and so they're thriving. so they do need to be watered.
Oh yeah, definitely, yeah. And most of the ones, most of the instructions say to water like every 5 to 7 days for the first 2 years, basically, unless
As I
it's.
go around, I look at our major streets where the streets have put them in,
Uh-huh.
and all the beginning trees that were put in a year ago, they're totally dead.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think if people stay on top of watering them and stuff, I think we should have some good success with
Oh, yeah.
this. So.
My trees
And
are.
we'll have a sunny slope rainforest.
Yes,
5 years.
that's my hope.
All right, thank you, Michelle. All right, so our next speaker is our Community Action Officer, Officer Friendly Joe, who's here. He's going to be giving us some updates on a lot of the stuff that's been going on lately. The helicopter probably today, this afternoon. I don't know if that's on your agenda too.
That was the
No,
news
that's
chopper.
not.
That was the news chopper, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
But there was a bunch of sirens
Yes,
and
well,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots,
So-
lots to talk about, I suppose. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh, if you just want to go by the microphone so they can hear you.
Oh, okay. Couple things I wanted to cover tonight are, over the past weekend, in the end of last week, there's been a couple shootings in your guys' area. Unfortunately, it's very sad. 2 people were injured. Fortunately though, one of our community action officers, Aaron Vaden, worked with our real-time operations center for the first one, went over video in the area using the technology that we have and linked it up with the time that our shot spotters detected the gunshots and the call came out, and we were able to find a vehicle matching the description fleeing the scene, got a license plate, got a suspect info, and he was already taken into custody. The second one, we have a very strong investigative lead. Our detectives are working on putting all their investigation together and are going to be going after him. So we're hot on the trail on him. Hopefully we can get him before he victimizes anybody else. But just want to share that update with you and point out the great work that our real-time operations center does, working with any officer that has the inclination to go in there and use that technology that's available to us, and we're able to get those dangerous people off the street very fast. It wasn't a random thing. Nobody outside, no regular citizen was injured. It was all contained. It happened in a park, without going into too much detail, but the first one is off the streets and the second one should be very shortly. The helicopters and sirens and stuff today, there's a house that caught on fire over around 13th Street, I believe. 14th Street. And, well, they had it all blocked off. That's what you heard, so it wasn't a major, crime scene incident. It was a house fire, and it had the potential of getting out of control, damage the house next to it and stuff, but power lines are down, so that's why you might have seen the big response to that. I'm sure you've been seeing the massive group of people that are using the park for what it's not intended for, leaving trash and garbage and drug paraphernalia everywhere. We are very aware of that. My squad, along with the bike squad and Office of Homeless Solutions, CBI, went out this morning, contacted 16 people. 14 of those people were observed breaking park rules, so they were trespassed from the park for a month, and 5 people were arrested and taken to jail. So 14 of those people shouldn't be back in Palma Park because they were not using it for its intended purpose. Other issues in your guys' neighborhood, we've gotten a lot of parking complaints. We're red tagging cars, giving the owners opportunity to move them, and then towing them away, writing parking tickets and so forth. Does anybody have any questions? Of information at you all at once, but
And also the break-ins, daytime break-ins happening near 13th and Mission for the middle of the day things. I don't know if there's been increased patrol
we are increasing patrol for those too, yes. Most home burglaries happen during the day because they think people are out at work and busy, and so don't allow yourself to be a victim. Don't leave doors unlocked, don't leave windows unlocked. We haven't really been checking our windows because it's been so hot out, they've just been closed. So when you get home, make sure they're locked. Can't just slide them up. Same with patio doors and all that. Lighting, make sure your landscaping is neatly trimmed so there's no like hiding places and all that and dark places to hide. They are seeking the easiest opportunity. So if you have any questions about areas in your home, feel free to reach out, and we have. Well, we do, yeah. I'm a little more accessible. I'm in the neighborhood every day, but if you have any questions tonight, we're both great resources. We are increasing patrol though in the area. Caleb and I are spending more time in the afternoons driving around looking for people carrying, pillowcases full of stuff and luggage and all that. So we're trying to spend some more time in the area, but good thing about being a BlockWatch is you guys look after each other. You know more than anybody who's supposed to be where in your neighborhood, and if you see something, give your neighbor a call, give us a call, hey, this doesn't look right, and somebody will drive by and be in the area and check it out. Thank you for that question.
I have a quick question. When someone is trespassed from one park, are they trespassed from all the parks in the area or just that particular park?
Usually, if Parks Department sees the same person being trespassed from multiple parks and it's an ongoing thing, then they will trespass them from all parks. But the people today were just trespassed from Palma Park.
So keep your eyes on Norton.
That's what
Yeah.
I'm,
Yeah,
Right?
they're coming up the street.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll be really fast, because I want to give Detective Kornegay as much time as he needs, because he's a fantastic presentation that I know you guys are gonna find incredibly useful. So I just wanna give you a few things before I let him get started. So we are embarking on a new, I'll back up. My name is Krista Roy. I'm from the City of Phoenix Neighborhood Services Department. I know most of you, but not all of you. I'm the neighborhood specialist for this area. So a few things that we have going on, really new and exciting for us, is National Good Neighbor Day, which is on September 28th. So we're really asking all our neighborhood groups to promote what it is to be a good neighbor, who's a good neighbor in your neighborhood. So I left a bunch of flyers in the back about how you guys can get started on that. It might be hosting a Front Yard Friday event. It might be having a dinner party for your neighbors. It could be anything, but there's a bunch of cool ideas in the back. There's like bingo for it. There's all the hashtag information and ideas for you guys to get started on that. And we just ask on social media that you tag National Good Neighbor Day, but all the collateral is in the back. The other thing is we have so many events coming up. You're never going to be bored in Sunny Slope until maybe November. Then you might be bored, but until then you have no
But
excuse.
then you have Christmas shopping, so.
Yeah, then you're not going to be bored there either. So September 21st, we are doing a cleanup in West Sunny Slope. We're kicking it off at Mountain View Park at the Community Garden. That's at 7 a.m. We're partnering with Keep Phoenix Beautiful and the Youth Center and Parks to clean up around the park, but also in the neighborhood. And then on September 28th, I just found this out, hot off the press, Palma Park, Cowtown. If any of you are skateboarders, into skateboarding, I think you're gonna like this one. They're a nonprofit, got a grant, and their grant is gonna be basically putting on a skateboarding event at Palma Park on September 28th from 6 to 8. There'll be live music, free food. They're gonna put like temporary ramps in for the kids to practice. You can recycle your skateboard, but then you can also get a new skateboard. It's gonna be super fun. So September 28th, I've got flyers for that in the back as well. October 5th, we have at GAIN, Getting Arizona Involved in Neighborhoods kickoff with Detective Kornegay being in the back, so our neighborhood leaders will come to the Christown Mall to get their swag and supplies. And then later that night, we're doing a movie in the park. Oh, and I forgot yours. A movie in the park. Yeah, a movie in the park. I'll let her say her piece for Norton Visit, all the fun you have coming up. But October 5th, we'll do another movie in the park, at Mountain View Park, and a picnic in the garden. And if you've got the opportunity to go to the last one, it was really, really, really nice. And all this information will be online. If you don't follow all of your neighborhood groups, please do. And if you need or you want to find out more information about what's happening in the neighborhood, you can always reach out to me. I'll leave my contact information in the back as well. October 12th, Winifred Green Park, we have another movie in the park. And I'm excited with all the movie selections. She's got a good one. I'll let her give you the spiel. But on the 5th, we're playing Hook, which brings me back to my childhood. So even it's for older too. On the 12th is Hook. October 5th is Hook. October 12th is, I think, Despicable's.
I know, Despicable Me and
What?
Migration.
I thought it was immigration.
No, Migration is not. It's Hook. I've got the flyer for
Hook
it.
is Mountain View, I saw
Yeah.
it earlier today.
No, Hook is like the old one, the old school one
No,
from when we were kids.
It's at Mountain
No,
View.
I meant.
Yeah, Mountain View. Yeah, it's Hook at Mountain View. And then October 12th is the other one.
Peoria.
Yeah, and there's so many more. I'm confusing you all with all these things, but what I'm just trying to say
Keep up.
is you have a great neighborhood. You guys, all of you in Sunny Slope are doing some pretty awesome things and doing awesome things in the park. Keep some of the things that Officer Capel was talking about out of your parks. So keep it up. Keep up all the good work, and there'll be a lot more to come. So anybody have any questions for me? Yes.
I don't think it's him, I think it's you. When you're driving down Hatcher, you're hoping you wish it was driving down Hatcher and you hang a right to go on 17th Avenue, 1644. West Hatcher is the business on the east corner, and then the mechanic shop on the west corner of that.
Okay.
He extended some iron fencing that goes all the way out to Hatcher.
Okay.
You cannot see to pull out on Hatcher. I don't know if you've been on there.
So that's something I would send to our streets department or right-of-way enforcement team, so we can have them take a look.
And now they built another 2 buildings next door to it, and theirs is gonna even go all the way to Hatcher Road. So they've got that all, the plastic things out on Hatcher Road, so you
You're
don't,
talking about the big new development, the big new build? No.
there's a new build like mechanic shops?
No, not a mechanic, the
The
big,
17th Avenue in Hatcher.
the tall, like, concrete buildings that are up there right now, the hobby shop place. I'll take a look, and we can follow up with you.
But it's extremely dangerous. In fact, I pulled out in front of a cop that was chasing a truck. And almost got hit, because
Okay.
you can't see him until
Okay.
you're out on Hatcher Road.
All right, I'll take a look. I'll be out here all day tomorrow,
Yeah.
see what's going on. I know the Hobby Lobby people have permits, so we'll see what else is going on. But Hobby, it's basically gonna be a big gigantic man cave. Not really, it will be much more than that, but it's a group of men that purchased this property, and they're gonna be using it basically to host like events and then store some of their collector cars. They're gonna have like a cigar shop thingy in there. It's gonna be
Well, those
pretty
guys
cool.
have been spending tons of money.
Oh, they had buco bucks. So that's gonna change the face of Hatcher on the west side, pretty big, so.
Where is it gonna be?
I think right around where you're talking about, it's next to the water department
Is it
building.
a big white building?
It's not that
Not
one,
that
it's
one?
big,
Oh, okay.
you know, not white yet, but they're
Water
concrete.
department. Where's the water department?
That's 23rd Avenue.
No, the water department, site is right there on 16th Ave in Hatcher. It's the,
16th and Hatcher's,
Mhm.
the Pruitts,
other side,
or.
other side of the street, south side of the street, or north side of the street. When you drive home.
Is there fencing right around there right now?
There could be, but they're working super hard on it right now, it's like
No, that's
huge.
not-
I think you guys are talking about the same thing.
Yeah, we might be.
It's the new build that's right there.
There's so many new builds, Joe, I can't keep up. But I'll take a look. We'll see if there's any violations that
It's
can be
very
addressed.
dangerous, very
Nope.
extreme.
We'll take a look. I don't wanna keep that up. This is a Norton Vista meeting, so I will follow up with you. Come to the HUB meeting tomorrow and I will have an answer for
Is
you.
that what you mean?
The HUB, the Hatcher Urban Businesses,
Yeah.
they're meeting tomorrow at 5:30 at Jane's Auto Body, which is on 10th Ave in Hatcher. It will be a candidate forum, so all the people that are up for election are gonna be there. So it would be an interesting, useful, meeting to attend if you're interested in local politics. City people will not be there because it's a no-no. So you'll have all the politicians and we will have a night off. Ooh, I know. All right, so that's it. I'll let, Lily, you wanna turn it over to Detective Kornegay or?
Oh, we got a little spiel. I got a spiel myself. So, Norton Vista, one of the things is we're not a BlockWatch group. We are a neighborhood association. So our area is wide. We're just like a big blanket for all the different streets in the area. And what we're trying to do is help people to establish block watches. And it doesn't matter if you're not necessarily in Sunny Slope. This could apply to you outside in other areas in Phoenix. But establishing a BlockWatch is really, really important. All of the things that Officer Joe was talking about with the shootings and the people in the park and stuff, I actually even got an email just today from the sergeant saying all of the people that they had arrested, how many people went here. The park rangers were there. Office of Homeless Services was also there. And he also thanked us as the neighborhood groups for being part of that. And the problems that we have in our community, they're all over, everywhere you go. And so the more people we can get involved in helping out their neighbors and helping out their community, we can kind of get a hold of this problem a little bit more. So we want to talk today really quickly about how to establish a BlockWatch program, and it is very, very easy. This is not a hard thing, and it doesn't have to be, like, you don't have to have movies in the park and all of these different activities, but it is going to make a huge difference in your little small area that you decide to create. BlockWatch is really about just getting you connected with your neighbors. It's not about being a vigilante or a Karen or anything. It's about, hey, Sally, you're watering your cactus. Do you think we want to start a BlockWatch? Sally's like, no, I'm not really interested. So you say, hey, Bob, do you think we want to start a BlockWatch? Yeah, maybe let's do it. And you get together with your neighbors. It's very easy to do. You schedule your first BlockWatch meeting, you and Bob, right? And it could just be just the two of you. What you do, you schedule it, you call your local police precinct, and you ask them to send out an officer to your first meeting. And that officer will tell you about all of the different benefits of BlockWatch. There's a lot of specific programs that are just for BlockWatch that as a neighborhood association, we don't take any part in. But it's like BlockWatch is almost like a higher level, and I would say in a lot of ways. So you have a second meeting. During these meetings, you take some notes, and the notes don't have to be, War and Peace and like how they taught you in school, 1 and 2 and A and little B and all that stuff. It could just be me and Bob and Officer Joe met on the corner under the streetlight, and we talked about a BlockWatch, and we talked about the robbery that just happened, and we decided we wanted to do a BlockWatch. Your second meeting could be like, we want to call our BlockWatch this or that. You send in your 2 paragraphs attached with your neighborhood listing application. You fill that out and you turn it in, and that's really it. After that, you send it in a couple of weeks, you'll get listed on the neighborhood listing for City of Phoenix, and now you're officially a BlockWatch. That's all you have to do. The thing about it is, if you do that, the first and immediate benefit is that if anything happens within a mile of your community, the city, like anything as far as like new businesses coming in or happenings that are occurring, council meetings, whatever, you get an automatic notification of that. So if somebody is putting in a coffee shop, let's say a half a mile from your house, you live in a really residential area, but they're putting this coffee shop, you're gonna get a notice that this coffee shop has filed a permit, they wanna restripe the parking lot. Do you wanna come to the city council meeting or do it on Zoom or whatever? And you can do it or you can just throw it away.
But I think the point is you find out about that stuff way before you would otherwise.
Right, and you
As a
find,
resident, you usually find out about it when it's already happening to you, but when you're in a BlockWatch, you're in on it from the very beginning, from the decision making.
Right.
You're notable.
and
The
Jazz,
notification process for that is different depending upon what is being filed for, so if
Mhm.
it's
Yeah,
a
so maybe
zoning
not
application,
Yeah.
or if it's a use permit, it will depend. For most applications, if you're within 125 square feet from that application, residents will all get the notification. But for most notifications with neighborhood associations or BlockWatches or business alliances, it's within 600 feet in most cases, or within a mile for the bigger stuff. So
Mhm.
she's
You're a lot more aware.
absolutely right.
Of
you'll
what's
get those
going on, yeah.
notifications. And it's not just that, it's other notifications that come out from the city, whether it be streets about restriping, repaving,
Mhm.
neighborhood services, the police department. We also use the same portal to send information out.
Yeah.
So you get a step up from, I guess, the regular Joe.
Right.
But then your job is to make sure that the regular Joes do know about it, so.
and this is where BlockWatch becomes a much more, I would say, easy venture, because you only have to tell maybe 10 or 12 people about that if it's something that you think is going to concern your neighbors. Whereas as a neighborhood association, we really need to tell everybody in the neighborhood, but how is that gonna happen? Because if that was the case, everybody would be here in this room right now, right? And it's not happening. So as a neighborhood association, that's your first and immediate benefit, but there's also other really big benefits. This is the application. On the first page of the application, all you have to do on this is mark BlockWatch. All these other little lines are just little directions for you, like a checklist, okay? So there's nothing you even have to do on that page. This is the second page. The only thing you have to do is, once again, mark BlockWatch, put in your organization's name, write your goal, we want to be safe, write your boundaries. So your boundaries can be really small. It could be just one street. It could be from 12th Street to 13th Street on Sunny Slope Lane. That's it. Or you can go from Mountain View to Dunlap, 12th Street to 14th Street, if that's what you want to do as a BlockWatch. So it can be as big or as small as you want it. But we are really recommending that you think smaller, because smaller is a lot more manageable. You can get a lot done in a smaller area. And the really big benefit is in a smaller area with BlockWatches, there's money involved. You are able to apply for all sorts of grants from the city. The main one that most of us use is the BlockWatch grant, and it's up to $15,000 a year. So if you have $15,000 on your one street, imagine all the things you can do after you get the free trees from the tree canopy grant that you knew about way before everybody else did. And so you're going to be able to go through those cycles and do those applications regularly. Right now with Norton Vista, we get the $15,000, but we're spreading it out all over our area. Just think about that on just your street. It's a huge, huge impact. And that's not the only grant. There have been years with Norton Vista, we've gotten almost $30,000 in grant money to do all sorts of projects. So one of the things we did was this was our attempt at crime prevention through environmental design, which was planting all of these cactus along the washes to deter people from like camping out and starting fires, doing drugs there. And that was all funded through our BlockWatch grants. So you can do pretty much anything as long as you can relate it to crime, safety, improving your community. So we really want to encourage you. We have some of the information here if you want to take it with you, the application and the brochure of what a BlockWatch grant is. And our speaker tonight, perfectly, is the actual officer who is in charge of all of the BlockWatch groups or the BlockWatch program, I should say, in the city of Phoenix. So he's going to be here tonight to talk about crime prevention through environmental design, that long thing. And if you also have BlockWatch questions too, he can answer some of those as well. So if all of you are probably involved in your area's BlockWatches, so keep going to those meetings, keep being involved. And if there's anything we can always help you with, you can come back to us. So I'm going to turn it over now to Detective Brian Kornegay, and he is going to tell us about crime prevention through environmental design.
Thank you very much.
I think you can find your thing on there.
This is a Mac. I don't know much about Macs.
Who knows about Mac? He's trying to find his drive on there. Where's Desert?
I can switch. Can I just switch my laptop?
I can give it a shot, Lily.
We just need to find his little hard drive thing.
I have no idea where to find it on here. While we're doing that, I'm gonna hand out these forms. These are home.
Oh, no, that's fine, okay.
I made. I will explain once they're, I get over here stuff there. Give it extra just hand it to them. So I don't have to sit very comfortable now.
Do you know what it's called?
I don't know, but shouldn't I just know? Is that? No, it's not. It's my stuff.
Okay.
So let's go to Finder or. Go over here. Let me see. me see if we can find it here.
Is it inserted or did he send it to you?
Yeah, it's
All right, we're trying
inserted.
to figure this out.
Okay.
Cause I can only just switch to my laptop if we have to.
Okay, so then it should be.
Do you want me to hand anything out? You got it?
Just took care of that.
You're the best.
Okay, so it's
So
still
Trina,
in here,
does
so it
this
should be
know
somewhere on
what,
here.
is good cheap home cameras for
See
outside?
if it says.
No,
What
it's not,
kind of
no, it's mine.
I cannot, the city will not allow me to recommend
I
any
don't
type of
know.
brand.
You know what?
That's
We're gonna
what
use
good
my
recommend.
phone.
That makes sense?
Okay.
So I can't say that this is a good camera, I can say this is a good type of camera.
Yeah.
Here, just close
We'll talk
that.
about that
Okay.
briefly here.
Or just
today.
leave it there.
Doorbell cameras are good. I don't mention the brand. There's a certain brand everybody loves. There are other ones out there as well. What's really good about them is they do get really good facial shots. Quite often you get those cameras that are up high and you see the top of people's heads. We get video footage, even if it's great video footage of the people, how many people live in the Valley of the Sun? Millions. So we have to look at that photo, go pick out of many million people in this valley who that is. So getting that facial shot is much better than having it on the top of the head.
And
Yeah, you gotta figure it out?
have our,
But we also need to put them someplace where they're not gonna be vandalized or
No, I
stolen.
don't.
I have a great video of a hand coming out stealing a guy's
This is
camera,
very
he's really
high-tech.
pissed about it, he just put the camera in and some guy stole it, so he had to mark it, because it's all recorded,
Hello.
and he steals his camera because he mounted it fairly well. So it's a balancing act, and then you put it someplace where it's not gonna be messed with, but also want to be good for security. I go to a convenience store, they often have them up high, you see the top of people's heads, they wear a hat, you can't see their face at all. So, well, we're still playing with this, cause I can always switch to my laptop if that's.
Yeah, I think you're gonna switch to your laptop and then we are just gonna try to just zoom in on the screen here. For the people who are not here.
You're learning from the master, Jim. That's what Kornegay was on the side, but I think he was the only detective that, in the whole city of Phoenix that has been certified in detective and design. So he
I will
knows
try to talk extra.
what he's talking about.
How many of you guys were at the Synergy Conference over the weekend? I saw one of you were there. This is not the same presentation, it's gonna be close.
Yes, the synergy, we had a conference.
You were at the Synergy Conference, and somebody else looks familiar. You were actually the class before me, I believe. I think I came in late to talk, I was just there I was the next class, the next section. So, alright, we're gonna go, how much time do I have? What time do you want me to stop talking?
That's what I told him. I said, he can go for quite a while, so
When you
even
tell
after
us
the
we're
room.
Alright, I'm gonna try to blow through this quick. I'm gonna talk about a few things. First of all, I'm Brian Kornegay with the Phoenix Police Department. I have been there for just over 36 years. You have 10 months left of me, I'm retiring next July. I've been telling people that just so that they're aware that I won't be here very much longer. I do several things, and wear lots of hats, you may have picked up on that. I do SEPTED, crime prevention for environmental design, which we're going to talk about tonight. I also coordinate the Phoenix Neighborhood Patrol program. Who's heard of Phoenix Neighborhood Patrol? Excellent. We actually have our monthly meeting next Tuesday at Mountain View Police Precinct, 2075 East Maryland. We have a special meeting, we're combining efforts with the BlockWatch Advisory Board. We're having a special guest speaker who you just heard about. It's people coming from our real-time crime center, or they have a new name for it. I like the original name. You give me a name I will not change. The Diamondbacks play it Bob. I don't care what they change the name to, it's Bob. It's the real-time crime center. Those were the videos that the officer was to look at, the other CAO that found the shooter's car, and they were able to trace it down. We're going to have a presentation from them because the place just opened up fully running recently. So it's a great way to hear what's happening. Shortly after that, at 8 o'clock, when that meeting is over, we're going to do a candlelight vigil for the officer who was killed earlier this week after last week. That's starting at 8 o'clock. We're going to have a bunch of candles there. We're going to have a candlelight vigil for one show. Everybody's welcome. 20th Street, Maryland. South Side Road, you can't miss it, it's the police precinct. Don't try to get there off of Maryland. If 51 goes through and you can't get through on Maryland, go to 20th Street of Glendale, go south till it ends at Maryland, look to your left, you'll see the police precinct there. Alright, so I talked about SEPTED, I talked about PNP, I also am the temporary interim BlockWatch coordinator pro tem. I put lots of temps in there because I told my boss, I am not doing it forever. If you guys decide to start a BlockWatch, the paperwork comes to me. I'm the one that flushes it off. If you would like somebody to come do a BlockWatch presentation to your neighborhood group, if you're trying to get BlockWatch together, you'd like to know more about it, you can reach out to me. Preferably, you talk to one of your CEOs like Officer Joe or one of the other ones. I don't know exactly where you guys are coming from, but one of us can come out and do a presentation for you. You always have to fall back on me. So, what else do? I also reported the abatement detectors, who we don't have many of anymore. There's because of staffing issues. Safe Business Network, and I don't know what else. And virtual BlockWatch.
He does it all.
My brain just had a fade. So, virtual BlockWatch. Anybody heard of that? Excellent. You're kind of talking about it. Virtual BlockWatch is simply a registration program for your cameras. So we have lots of cameras in the city of Phoenix, and so we can register with them so that we know where they are. We don't have access to you can't dial in, and I need to talk louder for your people. Sorry about that, I forgot. I'll try to stand over here closer to her stuff. It's simply a registration program. Imagine this, I'm a case handling detective. I get a crime I'm looking at and say, I wonder if there's any video footage. I can open up the map, I click on it, and I can zoom into where the crime occurred, and it will show me on little dots who has registered cameras with us, which is great. We don't have access to your cameras. I gotta call you up or email you, but we also have a contact information of who owns those cameras and who we can get footage from. That saves us from having to go door to door, knocking on doors, just blindly trying to find footage. You can share stuff with us. We have a new way you can share. It used to be you would email it to the to virtual BlockWatch. You can't do that anymore. We send you a link so that way when you have footage, it is immediately loaded up into our downloader or uploaded, whichever the technical term is proper for putting it into an evidence holding pattern. So before you say get an email to somebody and forensic imaging, and it sits in a pile of emails until you get to it. It took a lot of time. Now you send it directly into the storage for evidence. All right, that's enough of that. There we go. It's working. All right, we're going to talk about acceptance specifically for residential homes. Y'all live in a house, right? Or an apartment? It all matters. It's going to be a little bit different. We're going to talk about home security. We're going to talk about why. We'll start with why criminals pick certain places. What scares them out of a neighborhood? We're going to get to that here in a bit. For criminals, when they're thinking about committing a crime, they're going to start weighing risk versus reward. You may not think the criminals put a lot of thought into it. It's really not a lot of thought, but they have to say, how much risk is there, and what am I getting down with this? You guys go to the grocery store, or go to a convenience store, they have a sign saying, limited cash in the cash register. We never have more than $100 in the cash register. That's old school crime prevention. If that cash register was full of cash, that's a great reward. So it might be worth the risk to go rob that store. But by limiting that risk or limiting their reward, so it's got to figure out what the criminal's trying to get out of it and what the risk is. You know, make it harder for them. Another police department sent officers, detectives to prison, not in handcuffs. They went there to interview residential burglars. These are guys and gals who are convicted of residential burglary, meaning they break into people's houses, and they got sent to prison to learn why they do certain things. What attracts them to a house, what scares them away from a house or a neighborhood, their favorite way or method of breaking in. I'll tell you, these guys are braggarts. I watched the interviews. I brought this back to our city and they said, hey, we want you to go to prison and interview those people too. I said, no. I said, no, it's already done. I don't need to go to prison. We're good. I watched the interviews and they're a bit of braggarts. They brag about how good they are, but you gotta take it with a grain of salt. They're all sitting in prison. They all got caught several times because nobody goes to prison the first time they get caught. You get probation, they'll put it down to a misdemeanor, but anyways, we learned a lot from these guys. Things like time of day, how they choose a location, what they avoid, their preferred methods of entry. Now, Joe stole some of my thunder a little bit earlier unintentionally, but that's okay, I'll cut him some slack. When do you guys think most residential burglaries happen? Burglary when they break into your house. You said 8 a.m., you're pretty specific. Anybody think nighttime?
No.
Good, you guys are learning, because when I first started doing this presentation, I would say, what time? They go, nighttime. I said, no, it's actually most residential burglaries happen during the day. So people are generally at work, because people who are at work generally have stuff at home that they buy with the money they make at work. Not everybody works days, but we get that. So, most of the time it's when people are gone for the day. We're gonna get more specific here in a minute. As a police officer, as a police department, we only know what you tell us. So if your house gets burglarized, I'm gonna pick on you, sir. I go, you say, hey, my house got burglarized, you call the police, I show up, I go, hey, what time did you know it was not broken into yet? Well, I left at 6 o'clock this morning to go to work. Oh, okay, great. When do you know it got broken into yet? Well, I got home at about 6 o'clock. So what we know is that between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., somebody broke into your house and stole stuff from you. Now that would change if you have cameras or alarm system or something that could pinpoint when it happened, but other than that, what we know is that somewhere in those 12 hours while you were at work making money, somebody broke into your house and stole your stuff. We can't narrow it down, but we talked to these guys. So we think 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. because that's the best we can do based on what you tell us. So you said 8 a.m. Why?
I think most people would assume that people go to work earlier in the morning at 6, 7, 8 a.m. You're gone to work. They can break in then before lunchtime because some people return home for lunch.
Did you sit in my presentation Saturday? I know I saw you there. You're
No,
taking
I didn't
notes.
see it, I got this at Ocotillo Hills.
I've done this presentation many times over the years, so yes. According to the criminals, 8 to 11 is their time frame. They're afraid that by 11 o'clock, people are gonna be coming home for lunch. Maybe you don't, maybe you come home for lunch, maybe your kids come home for lunch, maybe they have a half day of school, so they feel safe that 8 a.m. Well, by 8 o'clock, most people are off to work. By 11, they may come home or get out of it. This isn't absolute. Each criminal's a little bit different, but this is the general thinking they have. I do Phoenix Neighborhood Patrol. I'm sorry, I forgot. I walked. Got to be close to the microphone. Sorry. In Phoenix Neighborhood Patrol, when I put in this presentation, you know what time of day should you be patrolling your neighborhood looking for burglars? 8 to 11 is a good time to be out there. You don't always have to go out in the middle of the night. We already talked about that. Things they look for when they want to choose a location. They're going to look for areas of concealment. Criminals don't like to be seen. Easy access. They want to look for an escape route. Valuables in sight. If they see something that looks like they want to steal it, open garage door, you got golf clubs, you got tools inside there, that's an attraction. That's going to say, I want to steal that stuff. That's easy mark. Risk versus reward. What's the risk? Not a whole lot. What's the reward? Might be a lot. Interestingly, while listening to these interviews, I'm making a list of what each criminal said about what they like or what they don't like, and the lists were long, but I found 3 common denominators. Almost every single one of them said they do not like, that scares them away from a location. They didn't always say them in the same order or call them by the same name. Who wants to try to guess? The very first one would be a
Nosy neighbor.
dog. Excellent. That should be the first one. Oops, wrong button. You guys are good. What would be the next one? Cameras or alarm systems. Now, what do those things have? Dogs and alarm systems, what do they have in common? They make noise. They attract attention. They say, dogs barking, something gets your attention. One thing I learned as a young officer with working with probably one of the best officers I know is that when you're looking for a bad guy, you roll the windows down, you listen for the dogs bark. If they're running from us, you're going to hear it. That he went that way. Dogs, alarms, and what do you think the final one is? I'm going to point to you.
Nosy neighbors.
They said, the phrase nosy neighbors. And I take that as offensive because it's actually probably good to you guys. When they say nosy neighbors, I think of BlockWatch,
Neighbors.
concerned neighbors, not nosy neighbors. It's that watchful eye. One of the guys, while he was being interviewed, he said, if I'm walking through a neighborhood, I'm driving, and I see people look at me, he goes, I keep going. That's not the neighborhood I want to break into. There's too many people looking at me. So keep an eye on what's happening around you and around your neighborhood. It's okay.
They start watering the yard.
Exactly. I work in my yard quite a bit. You see from a scratch on my arm. I wave at people that go by, even if I don't know them. Look at them and wave. It says, oh crap, I guess I'll put what I look like, and hopefully they keep going. Their favorite methods of entry are, they love open windows because one of the guys even said, I can almost guarantee I go to a house, I will find an open window. It's amazing how many people leave a window that's not quite secure. As an officer, we occasionally have to go on a check welfare call where somebody hasn't seen a neighbor in a few days, they're afraid they may have died inside, and we have to find a way to get in there. We hate kicking in doors. We will look for an open window, and it's quite often you can find a window, get through it. It's not as easy as walking through the door, but you get through there. They look for people that forgot to lock all their doors. And they love a door kick, kicking your front door really hard. It's noisy, but it's quick. It's just a single bang. Usually they're in, and they close the door behind them. I hand out my security checklist. I developed this thing a few years ago. A neighborhood group came to me and said, "Hey Brian, we would love for you." Sorry, go back to my microphone. Sorry. I like to walk around when I'm talking. Anyways, they said, "Brian, we would like you to come do a security survey in all of our BlockWatch people's houses." Like, great, how many are we talking? She goes, "About 400. I'm like, "There's no way I could do 400 houses." Albuquerque reached out to me, they wanted me to do 4,000. It's like, no. So what I did, I came up with this checklist. It's all written in the positive. This is something you can do yourself. I'm gonna walk you through it here. If I start running out of time, I'm gonna just kind of skip over a few of them. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. The reason I say it's in the positive, so as you're going through there, everything should be a yes. If you check no, that doesn't mean you're wrong. That just means that's something you might want to think about changing. It doesn't mean you have to change it. Disclaimer, I gotta put my legal voice on for this one. This is the lawyers make me put this in here. The following suggestions are made as a public service for the purpose of reducing the likelihood of criminal activity with the understanding that there's no way to predict or prevent all crime risks. That's the lawyer's statement. I'm not telling you if you do everything on my list, your house will never be broken into, you'll never be a crime victim. I can't guarantee that. It will make you a less likely target, however. The next one comes from the fire department. Think about fire escape. If you can put any additional security measures on your house, think of if you can unlock them from the crawling position. If your house is on fire, the fire department wants you to crawl out. The last thing I want you to do, your house is on fire, you crawl out to that door or window, you get there and go, "Holy crap, I have to stand up to undo that lock that Brian told me to put on," and you die right there. Think about escape. Your human life is more important than anything valuable as you have. All right, all the disclaimers are out of there. Get to our security checklist. You can read along if you like. I just blow through it really quickly here. Some people, I can do this sitting in my lazy boy chair watching TV. You probably could, but I'm going to ask you to actually walk around your house and do it. And the first one is exactly why. I start, whenever I do a security assessment of a building, property, whatever, I start across the street and I ask, what do I see? How does it look as I approach? What do I see? What can't I see? The first thing I want you to do is ask yourself, is my address clearly visible from across the street, day or night? And what happens quite a bit, I will take people out there and they're like, "Oh yes," they'll be on the phone, "Oh yeah, it's visible." We'll go out there, I said, "Where's your address?" They go, "Oh, it's right over behind the bush." Yes, the bush has grown up since last time you looked at it. It's now covering your address. Secondarily, I said, "Well, that's okay, we have one on the curb." "Oh, where's that at?" I said, "It's right over there where you parked your truck." I parked right on top of it, probably. So again, you have those two options and they're both covered. So go outside and take a look because things grow. You don't think about it. It's exactly the way you remember it being, not the way it actually is in real life. This is a much better projection I had the other day, or actually last night when I was doing this. If you look at this house, this neighborhood called me because they had a rash of window entry burglaries. And you look at this. Those bushes are grown clear up to the eaves. You can have the nosiest neighbor across the street watching your house, and the criminals get behind there, they're not going to see it. There's no opportunity for your neighbors to keep an eye on it for you. Same with this one. So ask yourself, are your windows and doors visible to your neighbors or passersby? Also ask yourself, can I see my neighbor's house, windows and doors? It works both ways. You should be keeping an eye on each other. Is your landscaping maintained so it looks neat, clean, visibility? Joe talked about that. I kind of pick up the pace just a little bit so we don't not here all night. We use a rule of thumb. You can either use the 2 foot 6 foot rule or a 3 foot 7 foot. So 3 foot, keep the bushes 3 feet or lower. 3 feet is as high as they should be. Tree canopies 7 feet or higher. So what you do is open those sight lines up. I wandered away from the microphone again, sorry. Open those sight lines up so that you can see. So you can see around. If you have any bushes near a windowsill, we want them below the windowsill level so that you don't have that hiding place for criminal. Look around, are there any areas of easy concealment around the front of your house? Consider planting called barrier plants, sticker bushes. Great thing about sticker bushes, or anything with stickers, they grow really well in Phoenix, Arizona. I bet you that list of trees has a bunch of them with stickers on them too. You plant these in places that you don't want people to go. Don't plant them in places you want people to go. So if you have that side fence, I have a very vulnerable side wall in my house. It's the only fence you could come over and get into my backyard. I have a really nice bougainvillea there. And I look like I've been fighting with a bobcat every time I trim it up because it is just full of needles and stuff. A criminal is not gonna go over that fence, and if they do, they're gonna be bleeding pretty good. They're not gonna want to go over it. So you can use barrier plants that can encourage people not to go certain places. Do you keep your gate locked? Slow the criminal down, make it harder for them. If they wanna get in your backyard and break into your Arcadia door, make them climb over the fence. Don't let them just walk through the gate. If they get in, make them carry your valuables back over the fence again. Don't let them just walk out with it. Look around your house. Do you have any objects that could be used to get over your fence? Some of them you have no control over, like these utility boxes. That is vulnerable. You have no control. You can't move those. You can't do anything within so many feet of them. Anybody have an idea what you could do to that fence to prevent them from using a utility box that is a foot full to get up and over your fence?
Potted plants, like big
Potted plants might work.
bougainvillea.
Or barrier plants. What if you put bougainvillea over there? Something, I say bougainvillea, I hate my bougainvillea, it's a lot of work to maintain, but it's really good for keeping people out. There's other good plants. You can put some kind of a barrier plant around there, something. Potted plants might help too. You might go put it on top of the fence and just make it harder for them. Look for something that maybe intentionally added to put a stair in there. 'Cause look at this one. You got
I
this
was
nice
just
stair
thinking
step
of doing that too.
to get up and over that fence. I used something like this once. We had a drowning call. I got there before fire, and that's how I got up and over the fence. I said, hey, look, there's a stairs for me to get up over the fence. Much faster. You see these apartments all the time. That's a ladder. Somebody who's lazy or but is up to criminal activity, bust out of the wall so they can get up and over the fence easily. You also see shopping carts on their side. Next one, as you go down the list, does my house look occupied? Criminals are going to look for a house that doesn't appear occupied. Whether you're gone for the day, you're gone on vacation, it's a vacant house, something that's going to attract themselves like, that's a house I want to break into. Flyers in the door says, nobody's been here in a long time. If you're out of town, have your neighbors pick those up for you. Having packages stack up says two things. We're not home and please steal me. Those smiling packages there saying, come steal me if you're not picked up right away. Do you have good lighting around your house? It doesn't have to look like a baseball field or anything like that. It should be just enough light that you can see around your house, your neighbors can see around your house. You can identify people moving around. Photo cells turn your lights on and off for you with dusk and dawn. You don't have to use timers. Don't leave your porch lights on during the day. That's just a signal you're not going to be home for a while. Do you keep all your doors locked? How many guys, when you walk in the house, lock the door behind you?
Always.
Good. Now, I tell you guys this, but I get grumpy with my wife because she's really good at it. I'll be in the front yard mowing the lawn. I go to get a drink of water, blam, the door's locked. Damn. You know, she locked me out. I didn't take my keys because I left the door open. I'm in the front yard. Anyway, at night, I did a presentation we have in the new Taiwanese chip plant up north. They were being victimized left and right after all these people were brought in from Taiwan. Completely different culture. They are not used to the thievery that we have in this country. They leave their doors open. They don't lock them. They go to the store, they go down to the mailbox, they're gone for a period of time and their stuff is being stolen. They leave their valuables in their cars with the windows down. Don't do any of that. Move on. If you have a spare key, because you need those sometimes, don't hide it under the mat. Don't buy one of those stupid online fake rocks you're supposed to put your car key in or your key in and hide it, because every criminal's gonna walk up and go, hey, that's one of those fake rocks you can buy online. There's a key in there. A pot, a plant, whatever, any place you think you're gonna hide it, the criminal's gonna find it. Don't do that. Leave it with a trusted neighbor. Or you can get something like a lockbox. That's a crappy lockbox, that's the best photo I found. They make a lockbox so you can secure a key if you need one. This might be helpful for elderly folks as well, or people that have medical conditions where the fire department's had to come many times. You can actually register with the fire department a lockbox combination, so when they show up to treat you or your grandma or whoever, they don't have to kick the door in. They just punch the code in, they can let themselves in with a key. We want to make it accessible, but we don't want to just free reign for everybody on the planet. Look for objects that can be used to break into your house. Don't give them a secondary key. That's what that big rock is. That's a key to bust a window to get into your house. I got this photo from my friends at Scottsdale PD. I was giving credit for this. They said, Brian, you won't believe this. They broke into this business by throwing a river rock through the glass door. And they were surprised. Why would you be surprised? Look, you had dozens of them sitting right there waiting to go through the front door. Don't do that. Think about what kind of a door you have on your house. Is it, now, depending on where when the house was built, the house I grew up with was built in 1959, and we had a hollow core front door. That's the way it came when they built it. That door was never intended to be installed as an exterior door. That was meant to be an interior door, but the cheap builder put it on as an exterior door. Hollow core. There's nothing but a honeycomb or cardboard inside it. You can put your foot through it easily. If you have that, you want to replace that with something like a solid wood door combination or a hollow core metal door, metal clad door. People, I don't remember the story on this one. This one I absolutely know. I don't know if you can make it out. See the pry marks there? There, you see all the foot marks. This is my friend Blanche. She had this door installed, a hollow steel door, and she had long screws put in the strike plate, like I'm going to talk about here in a couple of slides, and they tried to break into her house. They pried, they kicked, they tuckered themselves out and they left. They never got into her house. Slow them down. They probably went down another house or two and broke into one of her neighbors, but they didn't break into Blanche's house. Consider having a heap of people on your front door. Something so you can look outside and identify who's out there before you open the door. You can challenge people, ask them who they are, tell them go away, I'm not interested, whatever, but it's better if you can look out through the peephole to identify who's out there than pulling the curtains back and sticking your head out the window to see who it is. When you do that, you've identified who you are and what the target is or what the threat is. My grandmother would never open the door unless she pulled the drapes back to look out, and you always see, oh look, it's a very little old lady. And you're like, yep, I can take her. That's the kind of thing. So,
Now there's a little old lady, they're feisty, though. They're starting to shoot.
okay, they could be feisty, but not that much. They'll get tuckered out. Okay, moving on. Make sure you have a properly installed good deadbolt lock. Good because there's different types of them out there. A graded lock, I'm sorry I wandered away from the microphone. You should give me one that will kick you. Anyway, I'm teasing. There are different types of deadbolts out there. There's cheap ones. You buy yourself a $6 deadbolt lock. I used to be able to find those. You got $6 worth of security there. Pay a little bit more money. Get something that comes either UL listed or graded, ASI graded, or graded grade 1, 2, and 3. Anything graded is better than the ungraded lock. And then different grades are different higher quality of locks. Again, you get what you pay for. Generally, locks. Sometimes you're paying for a fancier finish, but you are paying for a better lock. Things to look for. Look for one that has a 1-inch throw, meaning that bolt sticks out at least 1 inch. Some older locks only have like a 5/8 inch throw. That's not very deep, and you can get enough flex in the door jamb sometimes to get the door to pop open. The 1-inch throw is much better. Deadbolt meaning it's not spring loaded. If it goes all the way, it must click. When you turn it out, it must click, and that way it can't be pushed in. That means it's locked. If it doesn't click, it's not locked. Other things to look for is a anti-wrench collar. When these kind of locks first came out, they didn't have the anti-wrench collar. You could grab with a pair of pliers, vice grips, pipe wrench, and twist the heck out of it, and the screws would break, and then the lock falls apart. Guess what happened when your lock falls apart? You no longer have a lock. The anti-wrench collar is basically just a sleeve, so if they grab a hold of the outside of it, that just spins around. They can't actually spin the innards and break it. Moving on. Properly secured strike plate. Meaning the strike plate, which is the metal plate on the door jamb, not on the door itself, but on the door jamb, needs to be secured all the way into the framework of the wall. Quite often they're mounted with 5/8 inch screws that just barely get into that very soft trim wood. There's zero security there. You can put your shoulder in that door and get it to pop open. By putting the screws all the way into that framework, and again, we say 2 to 3 inch screws for a reason. When they put that door in, that's called a rough-in opening. It's roughly the right size. It's usually a little bit bigger than it should be. Construction standards change. Different construction people. Some people will rough it in kind of tight. Some people rough it in rather loose. So you might need 2-inch screws. You might need 3-inch screws. You might need 3.5-inch screws, but you want to get all the way into those 2x4s in the framework of the wall. And that's going to slow them down enough. It's very hard to kick the door open. Ask yourself, going down our checklist, have you changed the keys since you moved into the house? When you bought the house and you moved in, and they said, here's all the keys to the house. Are you sure that's all the keys to the house? Who else did they give one to? Did they loan it to the neighbor? Did they give one to a distant cousin who's been in prison for a few years, who's getting out soon, and hey, I'll see if this key works. Make sure you have a key that nobody else has. Do you have an opening within 40 inches of the lock? Could be the doggy door, could be a mail slot, could be a glass window. 40 inches is national standard. I use a simpler rule, arm's reach. If I could bust that window and stick my arm in there and unlock it, that could be challenging. So what can you do about that? Well, other additional measures you could take, when I was talking about deadbolts, What I was showing you is a picture of a single cylinder deadbolt. Cylinder is locksmith talk for keyhole, meaning it's got a keyhole on the outside and it's got a thumb screw on the inside. Double cylinder has a keyhole on both sides. That's a great idea if you have a window or something in that door. You have a keyhole on both sides. There's one challenge that, however. Jumping back to my fire warning. If you're home, you want to leave a key in that lock so you can get out of it, or leave a key somewhere close by, hanging on a hook or something, so that in case of a fire, you can open that lock. Because if you get to that door and you're like, oh crap, I didn't bring my keys with me, that's problematic. Other things you can do. There's break-resistant glass, which is actually not glass, it's more plexiglass, a polymer. There's other things you can do. There's a burglary-resistant film. Kind of like window film, but it is thicker, have better glue, and it will actually keep people from being able to break through it. It works like our ballistic vest do, where it takes that impact and it spreads it out. I've got a video that would not play last night. We'll see if it'll play today. It says it's a video. It never ever wants to play for me. Not ever. Sometimes it plays. I'll just show you what it is. It's a horrible video. I shot this with my phone at a conference. This guy was doing a demonstration on burglary film. So there's a layer of film on that glass piece that's basically it's an Arcadia door. The old man here, that's his son. He owns the glass company. He's going to take that aluminum bat. He's going to hit that Arcadia door until he gets tired. Then he's going to change positions. You give that aluminum bat to his son. And he's going to hit it for a while. He's younger. He hits it for a while until the end of the bat breaks off. They did not break the glass. Then he comes out with a hammer, a rip hammer. That's the one that has a claw that's kind of pointy in the back. He turns it and he hits it with the rip hammer and he ends up shattering it. But it stays together because of the film. So it's much harder to break. It's really impressive stuff. I wish the video worked better. Anyhow, if you have out swinging doors, make sure you have the proper hinge or that the hinge pins are secured properly. To take a door off, you take the hinge pin out. If your door opens out, your hinge pins are outside. Those are generally used on back doors or places for fire egress. Businesses have them all the time. There are different types of hinges out there. This one, the hinge pin is riveted in. You cannot take that out. You have to grind it off. This one has a set screw. That set screw on the inside is just tightened and you can't take the pin out unless you open up the door, loosen the set screw, now the pin will come out. This one has a tab. So when the door's closed, that tab interlocks the second half of the hinge and you cannot separate the hinge if you take the pin out of it. And this one, where somebody made their own by taking one of these screws out, they put a bolt in that goes in the other side. So it's kind of like the tab, they just did a homemade version of it. Not many people have outswinging doors, but throw that in here just in case. Again, we keep going down our list. If you have double doors, make sure you have good solid bolts on that secondary door. The one doesn't always move. Quite often you see them with just a single bolt in it, or they're just rattling. If the door's rattling, you can probably rattle it enough to get that door to separate. Arcadia doors. How many of you guys got these sliding glass doors? It's what I grew up with as a kid. Actually, we still have it at our house. Can it be lifted out of the track? I do inspection in apartment communities. I went to one, I was walking around with the apartment maintenance guy. And it was his unit I walked up to and I said, well, first of all, your Arcadia door is mounted backwards. The sliding part's on the outside, it should be on the inside. He goes, I'm the maintenance guy. He goes, I did not build the place. I said, I get that, but I'm just telling you. I stepped up, I grabbed his door, I went, jiggle, jiggle, and I handed it to him. I took it off that easily. With a little bit of slack, it was much easier because it was mounted backwards. I got a better grip on it, but I've done it with doors that are mounted properly. You can lift them up out of the track. Check your house for that, see if you can. As a kid, if I came home from school and I did not take my house key with me, my mom wasn't home, I could go around to the backyard and lift up and down on the Arcadia door a couple times. I told you my house was built in 1959. It simply had this little hook on the Arcadia door, and as you jiggled, each time you lift it up, it pushed the hook down a little bit farther until I could slide it in and get home or get in. So, anyways, I was not intending to be a burglar when I grew up. Don't think that. Anyways, lots of other locks you can put on them if you have such problems. We can start with number 3, just to be backwards. And you guys remember putting a broomstick in your Arcadia door? My grandmother had one of hers. Every time you go to the Arcadia door, you had to get on your knees, pick it up, put it back. A lot of effort. We're lazy. We don't like to do those things. This is called the Charlie bar. It's like a broomstick that's mounted on a hinge right there at waist level. You just lift it up and put it down. It's a lot easier. People are more likely to use that. You can still reach it from the crawling position. You can reach up and get to it. Other devices, you got this hook. If you go to motels with Arcadia, you will see this quite often. And this one here, I really like this one. This mounts at the bottom of the door. I don't know if you can see it well enough. It's got a little tab there to lock it, you step on it to disengage it, if you don't turn the key, you kick it up with your toe. Even lazy people will take that extra step to lock that door. And that one, because the way that pin it goes into the door, or the non-sliding part, you can lift it up on the track, you won't with that pin installed. That pin will prevent it from being lifted up.
My dad stuck screws.
We're gonna talk about that in 2 slides. Actually, no, right there. So there's lots of devices out there on the market. These work for Arcadia doors and sliding glass windows. I'm gonna get those in a minute, but they are pretty much the exact same stuff. You see the Charlie bar. If your window can be lifted up, or your door, I hate this, I've never got a better one, but what you do is, above the window, in the track, in the closed position, what you do is you just eyeball it, you open the window or door up, and in the track you put a screw, or 2 screws, I can't tell you how far. You put them in enough, but not all the way flush, and then not just a little bit. The challenge is, yours may be 1/8 of an inch, yours could be 1/4 of an inch. Enough so that the door or window will slide by, but when you try to lift it up, it hits that screw, and you can't lift it up high enough to get it off the track. That's exactly what your dad was doing. That is old school stuff. Windows are left more often unlocked at your house than doors. Why? When you left to come here tonight, did you go out the window or did you go out the door? You probably went out the door, so you lock it behind you. We forget about our windows. Now, most of us haven't had our windows open since spring. We close those things up, turn the cooler on, and just try to survive until the fall comes around. Winter time around here, though, people like to open their window, get a little fresh air. We haven't had fresh air in our house in months, and we leave our windows open. So make a habit of closing them. What I recommend, anyways, what we recommend is 2 locks or latches. They're technically latches, we call them locks, but they're technically latches. Locks have keys. 2 latches on your window. If the manufacturer put 2 on them from the factory, you're golden, you're good to go. If not, we'd ask you to ask a secondary one. Make it that much harder for that criminal. There's lots of them out there. This is probably the most common because most houses have sliding glass windows here in Phoenix. This is a thumb screw. It clamps onto that track. It does a pretty good job of preventing that window from being slid open. If you didn't get the window completely closed, criminal comes by, they slide, they're going to hit that thing, and they're not going to easily be able to open the window. I'm going to tell you something I learned because I'm always learning something. That holds on originally by friction. It's got a pointy screw and it just kind of grabs by friction onto the track. My mother-in-law's house got broke into. What they did is they got to our window. She had those on there, and they got that window open a little bit, and they just kept hitting it, and it slowly pushed that lock back. And they left this really cool curlicue of aluminum where it peeled it off of the track. Her neighbor, who lives directly west of her name is Dottie, her husband installed her locks. He had passed away, but he was smarter than me. He drilled a hole in the track. So when he put those locks on there, instead of just being held on by friction, it went through the track, so it's actually mechanically held in place. He did not open her window. The burglars did not get into her house. They bent the heck out of her window. They didn't get in. So instead, they came to my mother-in-law's house, busted in, and they stole her stuff. And I had to listen to that. No, I learned something from that, and I'm sharing that with you guys. And we have casement windows, those crate open windows, and say, hi, we're open.
Lots of us have those windows.
I am so sorry. My first house I owned, we had those windows. I love them and I hate them. They look really nice, but the front ones had those diagonal little lines across them. They look really cool in old 1950s-ish. The challenge was the hardware wears out and they won't crank. You can't close them. So to close them, one of us, my wife or I, would go on the backside and you push on the window, the other person cranks and works the levers, because what holds those windows closed is the lever, not the crank. The crank is just plastic gears. If you have those and they're not closing properly, the best you can do is replace the hardware, but this is what holds that window secure. That has to engage. That's how you lock the window. There are some that have a little hole there you can put a padlock in. Again, fire escape purposes, I think that's a bad idea, but if you're really worried about it, it may be something to consider. Move on. Okay, I know I'm running out of carports and garages. If your garages are attached to your house, please lock the door between your garage and your house. It should be on our checklist. Secure just like it's your front door out to the world. If a criminal gets into your garage, they can close that garage. They got all afternoon to get into your house, so let's make it really difficult for them. Slow them down. Don't leave your garage door open. I'm sorry, don't do that. It's like you're just saying, hey, burglars, come steal. Look, take an inventory from the street, see if it's the stuff you want to steal. Like, ooh, he's got some good tools. We get lots and lots of those cars, and people are very surprised, calls, that, gosh, I accidentally left my garage open. And can you believe people came in and stole my stuff? Like, yeah. If you left $100 bill in your driveway overnight, would you expect it to be there the next day? No. So don't do this. I walk my neighborhood just about every single night for exercise. I usually go out late night because I'm out late myself, so when I get home, I'll have dinner, go for a walk, sometimes 10, 11, midnight. You won't believe how many garage doors open I find in my neighborhood. One of my neighbors one time, like 11 o'clock at night, rang my doorbell. I'm thinking, who the heck is bothering me this time of night? He goes, hey, just want to let you know your garage door's standing open. I said, oh crap, thanks. I'm thinking, how's my garage door open? I closed it when I got home. I go out to the garage, I push the button, what do you guys think happened? It goes down, it goes right back up. It's like, crap, something has fallen down and blocked it from being able to close. I probably walked in the house, slapped the button, didn't look back, went inside, and I would not have known had my neighbor not let me know. That's where you guys come into this.
And you were lucky, you didn't lock your door when you locked it in the house,
I
because you always shut the garage door.
What's that?
You probably didn't lock the door.
I probably did. I do have a habit of locking, but again, I don't wait for the door to close all the way. I probably should. I shouldn't be lazy like that. If you have carports, don't use them for storage. Again, you're just leaving your values out there for criminals. How many guys, I think it's on this one, have an attic entrance on your carport if you have a carport? A lot of them in Phoenix had carports, and that was where the attic access was. I'm recommending if you have those, put a padlock on that access, because criminals have been known to go up into the attic, walk over a couple of joists, drop down through your drywall ceiling, and now they're into your house.
And drug addicts like to run up there and hide from the police
Yes.
when they're chasing them.
As a
That's
kid, we had a
happened
guy
in our
run from the
neighborhood
cops,
a few
and
times.
he hid up in our attic because we had a stupid carport access.
Yeah.
Yes, it happens. Backyard. Whew, I'm getting close to the end of this. Thank goodness. You're thinking, God, will you ever stop talking? Lock stuff up in your backyard. Your tools, your ladders, your bicycles, whatever. Make sure they're secured in your backyard as well. You should have the gates locked as well. If you have an alley, whoever's on an alley, do the police department, the fire department a favor and throw an address on your alley fence.
Huh, I did that one.
At my first house I bought, the one with the stupid casement windows, the crank-out windows, one of the first times I'm emptying the trash, I'm walking back going, oh my gosh, my address is on my fence. What a great idea in the alley. I go, wait a minute. I looked at it a little closer and they missed. It was just over behind my neighbor's house, not mine. So whoever painted it had just bad aim. They only missed by a few feet, but that's okay. For police officers, it's great for us. Many times I've been in the alley trying to figure out which house it is. You're talking to the officer, goes, it's the 8th house from the corner. And you're like, okay, hold on. You're counting the air conditioning. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Figure out which house it is. Throw an address on it, make it easier for us. Look for stuff that's going to help criminals get over your fence in the alley. That photo isn't an alley. That's actually the side of a parking garage or parking lot for a police station. And that fence, that Palo Verde there, it's one of those that starts kind of spreading out short. It's like about waist level. It starts forking off into this almost bush. Many of those branches are actually leaning on top of that fence. I'm old and fat. I could have walked up that fence and up that tree over that fence. This is at the police department. Thank goodness it wasn't Phoenix. It was Tempe. I was actually there to have a meeting. I was sitting on an order board for their crime prevention officer position. And I'm like, hey, did you guys know that tree is leaning on your fence? They go, yep, we know. What do you mean you know? They go, well, we told facilities and they're supposed to cut it down or trim it. I'm like, you're waiting for facilities? This is your parking lot. That's your cars back there. I would have been out there with a chainsaw. Cutting the branches off. And they could have came and yelled at me later. They probably will. But they'll probably yell at me for doing it. But look around your house. Are there places that people can use to get up and over your fence from the alley? Pet doors. You gotta have large pet doors. A friend of mine, because this is it does not take a big door for people to get through to get into your house. This is a large door. That's huge. Most burglars you're gonna find are probably skinny people, usually on some kind of dope, so they're kind of very thin. They can squeeze through tiny little places. That door's an easy access for them. Think about that. Do your dogs need access to coolness or whatever? Probably. What can you do? A friend of mine, she has greyhounds, which are tall dogs. They're not very big around, but they are long-legged and tall. She needs a tall door, so she doesn't have one into her house. She has one on the side that lets them into her garage. That way they can get out of the heat, into the garage area, out of the sun. Her garage is vulnerable, but she's weighing the options. You know what? They could get into my house easily, they could get into my garage. Which is it? What are your options? All right, think about having some lights on in your house, especially if you're away. Photo cells work great, like that would just turn on automatically. It took me like an hour to make that little slide work. I think it's cool. It's also more comfortable for you. You get home from this meeting night, wouldn't it be nice to not walk into a dark house? You have a light on. Also, think about using radios if you're away. Whenever I go out of town or I'm away, I have a radio we put in the back room, somewhere away from the front door. We usually take it on a talks channel. We leave that on. If you're at the front door, you can kind of hear it. It sounds like people are talking in the house. You hear noises. How am I doing time-wise?
Oh, keep on.
Okay, I love my stories. They're all, by the way, all my war stories are absolutely true. I don't change anything about them other than leave people's names out. They usually happen to either people I know or friends, family, or me. One time I was driving back from vacation. We were about 2 hours out of Gallup. I get a phone call from a police officer, a friend of mine. I've known him since he was a police explorer. I've known him since he was a teenager. He goes, "Hey, Brian, we stopped this tweaker mobile." That means a drug addict car. He's stopped this tweaker mobile, and there's a briefcase in the back seat that's got your name and badge number on it. Like, oh crap. Could you describe it to me? He described it to me. I said, "Yep, that is absolutely mine." It's a catalog case, big kind of a suitcase thing that I take to classes when I have lots of handouts, so I do lots of classes and stuff, and if I have to carry extra materials, that's what I use. I'll have other things in it. I go, "Oh crap," he goes. And then he said, "Did you used to have a lot of tools?" I said, "Used to." Because he asked me where it was. I said, "Well, I'm not sure. It could be in the back of my truck. I have a tonneau cover on my truck. It could be in my garage. It might be in the home office. But, so there's a good chance somebody's broken into my truck that's in front of my house, my garage, or my house." He's like, "Okay." And he goes, "You got a lot of tools?" I said, "Yeah, I used to." Anyway, so my brother's also a police officer. He retired a few years ago, but they get a hold of him. He's bringing the key over, so they're going to do a building search just to check on my house. They know I am just a few hours out of Gallup. We kept losing time. They have to call me back because every few minutes the wind blows and you lose your signal. Anyway, so they're going to do a building search. So anyways, by the uniform officer, my brother there, they're doing the building search of the house. As he gets to the back room, the officer stops and goes, "Are you sure nobody's home?" He heard the radio in the background, and even the officer who knows I'm not there goes, "Are you sure nobody's here?" Because it fooled them. Think about that. All right, no more stories for a minute. Keep an inventory list. In case bad stuff happens to you, have a list. We used to call this operation identification, where we would loan you a engraver where you can engrave your driver's license and all your valuable possessions, stuff that is not going to be ruined if you engrave it. I would not do my laptop, I would not do jewelry, but tools, good things like that, refrigerator, something like that. Mostly what you really need to do is keep an inventory list. Something has a model number, a brand. If you want to take photos of it, especially jewelry, keep that valuables list someplace safe. Keep a copy of yourself, maybe give one to a trusted relative or friend so that they have a copy as well. If you put this on your computer and they steal your computer, you're not going to have access to it. What's important about this inventory list is if your house gets broken into or things are gone, you can report those to us. We have a warehouse full of property that we believe to be stolen, but we can't figure out who to give it to. When Magnavox or whoever, I was going to look at the TV, when LG made that television over there, they made tens of thousands of them just like that one. So the only way I can identify that belongs to you is with a serial number or if your name or driver's license number is engraved on it someplace. Just like my friend, he saw my name and badge number on that briefcase. He said, "That's Brian's." By the way, my tools were stolen from me when I was a teenager. And when I got those back, I sat down, when I got the replacement from the insurance, I sat down with my engraver and I put my driver's license number on all the tools. When they broke into my truck and they stole my briefcase and my tools, how many of those tools have my driver's license number on it? None. I was embarrassed by that. Yeah, thanks for the look. When I got back, I used to be the president of Arizona Crime Prevention Association. I wrote an article basically shaming myself in writing saying, the crime prevention guy has his tools stolen without a driver's license number on. And I got thinking about it. All the tools in my garage have been marked. All the stuff in my house is marked. It's the darn ones in my truck I never marked. I buy them, they go in there, they ride around in the back under the seat. I never thought of marking them. Now they are. So we learn from our mistakes. So you can engrave stuff, you can take photos. There's new technology, you can buy these, they're called micro dots. They look like glitter, but they have a little tiny, if you look at them with a magnifying glass, really sharp, there's a serial number on there. You can get those. There's also barcodes you can put on there. There's infrared or ultraviolet markers you can use that can only be visible under ultraviolet light if you don't want to damage things. There's lots of technology out there. Make an inventory list, update it regularly. Alarm systems, we talked about those. They are one of the things that deter criminals. If it appears to be a legit alarm system or a camera system. Those are fakes. My father-in-law put those up around his cabin after he got broke into. They're these crappy plastic things that have a blinky red light on them. You look at them like, that's a fake camera. That's a fake camera. They know the difference. That's a fake alarm sign. They know that. So if you have an alarm system, a couple of things. Know how to use it. Anybody who's gonna visit your house or take care of your house while you're away, make sure they know how to use it. Know the password and stuff. You go to thousands of false alarm calls probably a week because people just simply don't know how to operate them. Camera systems are wonderful. We talked about it at the very beginning. It's great. Older ones, all we could really do from those is we could document exactly when something happened. I've had companies release videos to me, oh my God, we got this great video. I'm looking, well, it's a shadow. All I see is a silhouette of a guy. I have one, I don't have it in here. You see him come in, he walks right by the camera, all it's a silhouette. You see him go by, you see him pass one. He uses one of their pallet jacks to steal stuff to put in his truck. And you see the truck drive away, and all you see is a black outline of a truck. It's like, great. What do you think? I said, I can tell you exactly when it happened. That's all I can tell you from that. And the guy drives a truck, and he knows how to use a pallet jack. That's it. We need good video. So think about what kind of video you have, and what you're gonna do with it. We talked about the different kinds. Lots of them, they go straight to the cloud. That's even better. It's stored someplace. Some of them go to your phone. The challenge with the ones that go to your phone is sometimes after a while, because we have one in my father-in-law's house, he passed away, it's vacant. And when we first put it in, every few minutes, bling, bling, you go, oh, God, oh. There's a car driving by. Bling, it's a light went by. It's a cat, like, oh my God, this is driving me wacky. So you stop looking at it. Think about keeping those things adjusted so you actually pay attention to them. Keep some of your valuables in safes. Consider buying a safe. Don't hide it in your underwear drawer. Criminals aren't bothered by that. They will dig through there. Every house burglar I've gone to, they've gone through the master bedroom. They go through the dresser because that's where people keep their valuables. They will go through your freezer. All those places you don't think anybody's going to look, they will look. A safe can protect you. There's different types of safes. There's actually two basic types of safe and a third, which is a combination of the two. A fire safe. You guys watch that show, Storage Wars, where they bid on empty storage units? And every single one of them has one of those fire safes in there, and it's always got something inside valuable. That's a fire safe. That's not a safe. It's got a carrying handle on it. You don't put a carrying handle on a safe.
It's easy to break.
They are. Basically, to break in, I've watched this many times, they put them on something, they put a screwdriver, and they hit it once, maybe twice, and it pops open. This is a fire safe. The purpose of this is to protect valuable documents from heat. It's an insulated box, is all it really is, and they're rated on how many thousands of degrees it can be for so long, and the paper inside stays intact. It's not a burglary safe. Burglary safe is to prevent them from stealing stuff. This would be a burglary safe. There are combination safes, which are partially fire safe, partially burglary safe, and they're all rated on how long it takes somebody to break into them or whatever. You also can put stuff in a safe deposit box. If you have a burglar safe, just think about how is it secured to your house and you keep from being taken off. Yes, ma'am.
I used to have one of those fire safes,
Uh-huh.
and my place was broken into, and they took that fire safe with them. And
Yes.
they broke into it later on, wherever they took it.
They're easy to break into because they're not intended to prevent you from breaking into it, really. They're to protect it from fire. And most of them have a carry handle on it, so it makes it easy for them to carry it. People put valuables in it. They sell them as a safe, but they don't say fire. Well, they will say fire on it. They say, oh, it's a safe. But safes should not be movable. They should be secured to the ground, to a wall, something, or so heavy you can't carry it. I used to work at a retail store, and the retail store didn't do it, so we ended up closing that store. I got moved to another one. But while we were moving out of that store, we had this floor safe right by the registers that we've been using since the store opened. Didn't think anything of it until we moved all the cabinets around it. We went to move the safe, and it was hollow. What was supposed to happen on this particular model of safe is you put it in place, there's a plate you take off the top, and you pour it full of concrete. And you put the lid back on it. And now it's super duper heavy, and you can't move it. They never filled ours with concrete. So the whole time we were there at that store thinking our money was safe, they could have came with a hand truck and wheeled it out. It would have been hard because it was kind of under the counter, but still, there was a chance they could have just wheeled it out. Make it hard for them. install it properly. Or using a safe deposit box that would be sending it down to the bank. Don't advertise that you have valuables. If you have something, you buy something new, don't put the trash out front. Right? You don't have uncontained trash after this month. Our last pickup is like sometime this month. This business, they call it the mayor's office because they kept getting broken into every time they got new computers. This one's 7th Avenue. I was riding up to this business after they complained to the mayor. I go, oh look, there's your computer boxes right on the street, right off of 7th Avenue, on a major roadway. There it is. Not only that, when I got to the business, their back door was left unlocked. And they tell me, well, we never use that door. Why wouldn't you use that door? It's the closest door from the business to the parking lot where the employees park. If I worked there, that would be the door I would have used. I asked him, I said, how do you guys secure your business and off this whole security thing, but you can take this to work if you want? I said, well, how do you lock up at night? He goes, last person to leave locks the door. Well, that's a stupid plan. This happens to us at work all the time. People leave our door open. Within the police department, we're supposed to close it when the last person leaves. Who knows what the last, are you gonna check every single cubicle throughout the entire building to see if everybody's gone? The best rule is you assign somebody, man. You close at 5, if you're not in town, it's your job. There you go. If you can't just expect somebody to just close it up, oh, everybody's gone, lock the door. All right, moving on. Don't put your valuables out front. What if you got a bunch of valuables, maybe about a brand new television, what do you do with that box?
Cut it up.
You know what you could do is, you know that neighbor you don't like? Put it in front of their house. No. I throw those in just as humor, just to keep you guys going. Break it down, put it in your trash can, absolutely. Use it for something else around the house, also torn up, you can't
We
use it for
take
anything else.
ours to a dumpster somewhere.
Yeah, a dumpster would be great. There was a time when you could take them to a grocery store and they would take them off your hands because cardboard was expensive and they got money for recycling them. Not anymore. That's long since gone. All right, whew. That was painful, wasn't it? I think I skipped over a few of the checkpoints in here, but please take these with you. It's not copyrighted. Make a copy, share it with your friends. Questions of me? Yes, ma'am.
For a fence, can we put any type of topper to help prevent from coming over it? Spikes or
Depends on what you're talking about with topper. Within a residential area, you're not allowed to have razor wire or barbed wire. Barbed wire has to be 6 foot 2 inches off the ground. Residential fences cannot be any taller than 6. So by 6 foot 2, you now can't have it. In commercial, you can have it. So you can't have, it's against code to have barbed wire or razor wire. I recommend against putting broken glass or carpet tack strips or other nasty things like that. Saturday, my friend Lisa from Neighborhood Services, she said she's been told that you could put like axle grease on top of your block wall, which would prevent people from climbing over. It's messy, greasy, nasty, not a bad thought. The reason I don't want you to put the other things is you have to think about liability, and are there other people who might have a need to climb your fence? Occasionally police officers and firemen have to go over your fence. A friend of mine, Jeff Webb, he retired a few years ago, not because of this, but he was chasing a guy, and as he went to go look over a fence to see if he went there, he grabbed a hold of this fence and got 2 handfuls of carpet tack strips. It's really, they're like ninja because they lay flat on the fence and you can't see them until you get a handful of them. I mean, it's quite bad. And imagine they're sitting out there, they're probably all rusty and nasty. The answer, now if you do an extension of like wrought iron with the hook on it, that would be allowable as long as it's within the height range the city allows. But barbed wire and razor wire is not allowed in the broken glass and stuff.
what about no trespassing signs?
No trespassing signs are great, you can do those.
Does everyone, would you, like BlockWatch, would you have someone put it on our alley, like everyone, or is just one, or how would you?
It would not be enforceable if you put it on the end of the alley, because that's kind of a, not really a public alley, but kind of a public alley. It's not your private space. On your back fence, you could put them on there. Lisa, again, we're talking about Lisa, Hubbard. It's 2 H names, it's hyphenated. I can never remember which is first, which is last. Doesn't really matter. Lisa Hubbard is what most people call her. She's got a stencil for putting up no trespassing signs because it doesn't get stolen or damaged as much.
Our neighbors painted theirs on with fluorescent painting.
But the no trespassing signs could be helpful. Just again to send that signal that we don't want you here. Please don't come on here. Other questions? No other questions? Thank you guys for putting up with me yammering on so long. I'm gonna stick around for a few minutes. If you have other questions you're afraid to ask in public, again, take a copy, go home, do this. If you have any other questions, reach out to me. If you decide to start a BlockWatch, let me know. I give you my regular email address, but it's much harder to remember than the easy one. pnp.coordinator@phoenix.gov. Brian.Kornegay, common spelling, that's my number. What's that?
What's the email address?
PNP, the initials for Phoenix Energy Control, PNP.coordinator, the word coordinator, at Phoenix.gov.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you guys for your attention. Sorry I went so long.
All right. Thank you. So, before everyone leaves, we've got a couple of announcements. I would try to hook this back up to the little YouTube, but it's getting complicated. So, first thing is Sunny Slope Historical Society is having their Wallace and Ladmo this Saturday the 14th, 11 to 2.
Yep, but first come, first serve. We're already booked and 400 people on Facebook are interested in coming. And we cannot have 400 people in the building.
Okay.
So, you
So-
know, first come, first serve.
Camp out Friday night if you want to go. On what's the address?
737 East Hatcher Road.
Okay,
Are
so
you videoing it again?
We're gonna video it. I'm gonna try and figure out live on my phone like Lily did.
oh, it would be so much easier if you just point the camera. It's done. Then on September 27th at Norton Park, 1224 East Hatcher, we are having our movie in the park. It's going to be Jumanji, 1995, the original with Robin Williams. So that'll be at 7 p.m. And you bring your blanket. We've got the popcorn, so come for that. And then October 31st, we are doing our GAIN Trick or Treat on 13th Street block party, which is funded by our BlockWatch grant. And we close off Hatcher to Dunlap on 13th Street. You could drive over, but you have to park outside. We close the whole street off, and it's just like a free-for-all. Kids run wild, get their candy, have a good time, have prizes, games, all sorts of stuff. So bring your people out, and thank you all for coming. You have a question?
There's 2 more. I sent you an email about the rock garden meeting.
I know, but I didn't have them on my slides.
No, you're good. This Monday, the HP Commission's gonna hear the Sunny Slope Rock Gardens case and decide whether or not they approve historic status. I put the agenda back there. You can call or just send an email with public comments saying you support it. Marion's been trying this for 45 years, so any comments help with that. And then October 26th and 27th, the Rock Garden will be open for the Sunny Slope Studio Tour from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. So you can come see the garden, have some snacks, learn more about it. But making a public comment for Monday would really help Marion. She's been dedicated to that garden since '79, and it helps her to know that the community cares and wants to see it be saved and preserved. So, and all the flyers are back there for you guys.
Last thing. All right, everybody, grab a
Can you
cookie.
tell me the date of the movie again?
27th September.
So Friday the 27th?
Yeah. And grab a cookie before you leave. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
The 26th and 27th. I'm gonna